Hey, welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Sharon.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
This week you launched, or helped launch, Braveheart here in Tasmania, which is very exciting. I'm very excited. I've been overwhelmed all week.
Good.
Can you just tell the congregation what Braveheart actually is?
Yes, sure. Bravehearts is a not-for-profit organisation leading the fight nationally against child sexual assault in Australia. And they do that a number of ways, through support and through education. But it was founded in 1997 by Hetty and Ian Johnston as a result of their own 7-year-old daughter disclosing child sexual assault.
And what sort of things do they actually practically do?
Well, in the support services, they provide the counselling and therapy sessions. So they have a 1-800-BRAVE-1 number, so they take a lot of calls nationally. And in the education side, they provide professional PD practice sessions called Helping Hands for therapists and counsellors around Australia. And the centrepiece, what I call the centrepiece of their services, is a children's education program that they run in schools in 4 other states around Australia.
And your design, your hope is that Tasmania, Tasmanian schools will actually start to run this program?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So this program has been delivered to over 100,000 kids nationally, and I basically rang up and said, why isn't it being delivered in Tasmania? What about our kids?
So why did you make that phone call? What was behind that phone call? What led up to that phone call?
Well, I guess originally, I think like most Tasmanians, I was pretty shocked and horrified when the news broke about the 12-year-old Glenorchy child being prostituted by her mother and partner and everything surrounding that. And, I processed that for quite a while. I'm sure most people did. And Petra and I were quite often talking about the rise of child violence in our community, and me personally, I find it quite difficult to talk about and process because I just can't really understand it. But Petra just said to me one day, well, if everybody takes that approach, nothing will ever happen. So that really, I guess, resonated with me. And then that following Sunday, Tim spoke, he shared his wisdom about fruitfulness, and that we're going to be judged for our fruitfulness, not just our faithfulness, and about our talents and putting those to good use. So that next morning, I basically picked up the phone and rang Bravehearts.
And Hetty was very warm and joking.
She was very. I said, look, this is who I am. We've got this problem in Tasmania. I've seen your program in 4 other states. Why not Tasmania? What about our kids? And basically, we struck a deal then and there on the phone. Hetty said, we'll be there if you can get the funds. And I said, righto, that's a deal. We're going to raise the funds as a community, and we're going to put the stake in the ground and say no to child sexual assault in Tasmania.
So one of the things... Last week, Tim did an amazing message again on partnerships, and I watched you this week with your partnerships, just even in getting this off the ground. You put a lot of wisdom into trying to get key stakeholders involved and to get the community involved, and it was actually very beautiful to watch how you did that and the beauty with which you did that, and a lot of it comes from your own skill. How do you feel, having had the launch, having had the media launch, the launching at the council chambers, the response from the community that you've had so far? How are you feeling on the inside? Like, what's that doing on the inside?
Oh, look, I feel very energised. I feel quite overwhelmed that this has really just got so much traction so quickly. And I've got to say personally, I haven't shared this with anybody yet, but this week I feel like my faith is really front and centre. Yeah.
But I was overwhelmed. I love it when people have gifts and talents and they make a decision that they're going to use their natural gifts and talents. What I love about this is that I guess having worked in the area of sexual assault for over 20 years now as a social worker, and every year in this church we run the Door of Hope group, and many of the girls in Bliss were with me when I was very shattered and very upset about the 12-year-old girl, because for me it's an indictment on the church. because I think that God watches his church and he watches his people and he responds to what his people do. And if his people will have kindness and compassion, then he can work and he can bring in kindness and compassion. But if we're sleepy and don't want to do anything and, you know, just do nothing, he can't do anything, because for some strange reason he tends to choose to work through us. And so some of you were with me when I was shattered and crying and just very distraught, because this issue is very complex. You know, we have an overburdened welfare system, we have fostering issues, we have a cultural issue, we have a culture which says that this is normal, a whole range of things around children's sexuality and all that kind of stuff. But I think that one of the things I loved about this one, Stephen, is that it's not being led by a woman, but it's being led by a man. And for me as a woman, to have a dad, and I see you as a dad, that it's the father's heart rising up and sort of saying, enough's enough, let's keep our kids safe, and taking that stand as a man in our community. For me, that means a lot as a woman. So I want to say a big thank you for that.
Pleasure.
It means a lot.
Absolute pleasure. I guess also, just to put it into reality, that 1 in 5 children in Tasmania do suffer child sexual assault. So it's over 1,500 a year, and that's extremely conservative because of, as we know, the insidious nature of it. Most of it is not disclosed. But the national data says 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18 years. So it is our biggest public health issue we face right now because of the fallout that comes from this. And that translates to 22,000 children in Tasmania, possibly over the next 18 years, will be sexually assaulted. So I think everybody feels, all adults, I felt an overwhelming sense of shame being an adult as a part of the community, that possibly could happen. Excuse me, it's not just that I'm emotional about this issue. I was quite up last night at about 1 o'clock, so I'm a little bit tired. But,
sorry, we know. It's okay, nothing up to your
So again, it's time to put a stake in the ground, and if anybody wants to help us, and we need as much help as we possibly can, we're very happy to hear from you. Both Sharon and I are now involved in a regional committee which has been set up under the National Bravehearts banner. And we've got a lot of work to do. We need to raise $100,000 to get the children's education program up and running. And we need to convince a whole bunch of politicians that this is important. We've got the acknowledgement, and now we've got the understanding of what's happening. And the other thing, as part of this campaign, I would like to get the message out to those thousands of Tasmanians that have been sexually assaulted as children and adults, that you are part of a community that does care.
So will you be around floating? Because I know that
Yes.
some people have lots of questions and would like to ask
most
questions.
definitely. Most definitely.
So afterwards...
I've got some information bags, so I've got one here with me, and on the 7th of September is National White Balloon Day, where it's white to say no. And I've got some information about Bravehearts, so if anybody's interested, please just come and see me and I can pass it on to you.
That's great. And for the girls, on Tuesday night at Bliss, we're going to sort of unpack a little bit more about what this means, and a little bit more about how we as women want to be involved in taking Love's on its way to the children of this day, because that's what we're called to do. So thank you, Stephen, very much.
Thank you, Sharon.